And welcome to another edition of the Sports Rush with Brett Rump Saturday. I am Brett Rump. Adam Lundy is going to be joining us for today's edition. And of course, for those of you that haven't been following the channel, what do we do? We're not on regularly Monday through Friday from 4 to 6. And so here's how it works here on the YouTube channel. We try to get out as many videos as we can during the course of the week. Generally, those are no more than 10 to 15 minutes long, and they're very timely. They try to associate with current events as they happen during the week. Then on Saturday, we kind of recap and talk about our opinions on everything. And as many weeks as possible, I'm going to try to have Adam Lundy with me so that we can both be here. And he is here today. We're going to be talking Pacers-Knicks, Indiana Fever. A local legend has passed away, A local legend not has passed away. He's retired. But then an owner of the Indianapolis Colts has passed away, and what that might mean for the future of the Indianapolis Colts. Plenty of other local stuff to talk about. Without any further ado, we want to bring the guy himself into the picture.
Hey,
And there he is. It's Adam Lundy joining us. Adam, good afternoon.
good afternoon. Happy Memorial Day weekend to you, Brett, and everybody out there. Good holiday weekend. The weather is nice. It's looking good. The only thing I can complain about is my Knicks. I can complain about them.
We are going to give you plenty of opportunity to complain about your New York Knicks.
Whew,
Trust
thank goodness.
because we are relishing in the Pacers' performance in New York 2 games in a row. This has been a ton of fun if you're a Pacers fan, but I imagine it's total heartbreak for the New York Knicks fans. They thought this was their year. And when I say they, I kind of feel like you're maybe in that crowd. I don't know how, when I kind of stereotype or group together all of the New York Knicks fans, I don't know how much you're included in that, or if you're kind of a sideline guy where you're not really the core fan. But the bottom line is the New York Knicks fan base believed this was their year. They made the moves in the offseason to kind of prepare for this situation. They kind of felt like the team they were targeting, I think, was the Boston Celtics, and they got by Boston. And that may have been the worst thing to happen to the Knicks, was
Yeah,
to beat Boston and then get Indiana, because I think they felt like the only reason they lost to the Indiana Pacers a year ago was because they were hurt. And they thought, we're healthy this year. Indiana's got no stinking chance of beating us because we're healthy. And that's the worst mindset they could have. Not respect just how good this Indiana Pacers team is. Because remember, the Pacers were not 100% healthy either. Ben Matherin's an important piece to this Indiana Pacers roster. He was not part of that series a year ago. I'll be honest. The Knicks, yeah, they were very handicapped last year. A lot of guys suffering with injuries that were playing, and then some guys suffering from injuries that weren't playing. But I think they went into this series, Adam, before the series even started, feeling they had it in the bag. That in their mind, the conference final was against Boston, not against the Pacers. And look what's happened. They're down 0-2, losing the first two at home.
well, I mean, let's be real. I mean, that not even did they go into the series thinking that they could, easily have the advantage against Indiana. They were going through most of game 1 thinking that they had the advantage against the Indiana Pacers. And then obviously we saw what happened in the fourth quarter of game 1, an epic comeback led by Naismith just going absolutely ballistic from beyond the arc, and then of course the fantastic shot with the craziest bounce I've ever seen live from Tyrese Halliburton. So yeah, I mean, like I said, the Knicks, they were celebrating, they were, cheering, they were, screaming to the crowd up 20 points in the fourth quarter, and then obviously they were playing with the lead, and I think the Pacers offense, which we know can score very rapidly, all of a sudden, caught them off guard, and all of a sudden the Knicks are playing on their heels, and all of a sudden, before you know it, it's overtime, and then Pacers have all the momentum going into overtime, and then after a fantastic comeback like that, how could they not have the momentum going into game 2? So now they're up 2-0, still have the momentum going into Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. So just an incredible start to the series for the Pacers. And, you got to tip your hat, give credit where credit's due.
The most historic comeback, I believe, in NBA history. Now, there's plenty of stats that attach to a comeback like the Pacers had when they were down 17 in the fourth quarter. They were down 15 with like 2.5 minutes left. They were down 9 with a minute left. So there's plenty of historical numbers that you can attach to this Pacers comeback. And depending on which one you look at, it's very easy to argue this was the greatest comeback in playoff history in the NBA. I mean, unbelievable what we witnessed on Wednesday.
No question about it. I mean, it's the best comeback I've ever seen live, in person. You know, ever watching an NBA game, and the fact that it happened against my Knicks, very sad. But you know, it's just another chapter in this long storyline between the Knicks and the Pacers. You know, going back to the '90s and those fantastic matchups, and of course, you had echoes of that with the choke sign there. Game one, you get a lucky bounce, and you're pulling out the choke sign, my man.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. When
I didn't
you
like
when
it.
you I mean, that's like the bat flip for a ball that goes off the center field wall.
For the double.
Yeah, for the or get thrown out at second. I mean, that
I
I get
respect the
it.
moxie. Yeah, yeah.
He's trying to pay a little bit of an homage to Reggie Miller. The only problem is game wasn't over, and it wasn't even a three. I mean,
Yeah.
and once you do it, the cat's out of the bag. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's like, okay, that was kind of cute, but at the same time, that was really an embarrassing thing for Halliburton to pull. Um,
And then he even admitted he wouldn't have done it if he had known it was a 2, so but,
Boy.
hey, like I said, you gotta respect the moxie, but you just knew he was ready to pull that out at the first possible moment he could. He was dying to do that.
Well, yeah, and so the Pacers get that game one win,
Mm.
historic in fashion. Um, and then game two, I thought this would tell us the direction for the rest of the series because this was going to, in my mind, be the very best version of the New York Knicks. I thought, okay, the Knicks have had a chance to regroup. They've got to be really angry. And if they're true champions, they're going to come out with a certain vengeance, a certain determination. And where they're at their best is on the defensive end. Where the Pacers are at their best is on the offensive end. And I thought if the Knicks really lock down and they're playing at home, they're getting the emotion connected to that home crowd at Madison Square Garden. I thought this game two, is going to tell us the direction of the rest of this series. Either the Knicks are done, they just don't have what they need to beat the Pacers, or this is going to be a series that's going to go a long way. And they couldn't beat them, and it was no fluke. I mean, I felt like the Knicks brought max effort. There isn't anything statistically that's out of character for the Knicks. It's not like they shot horribly or they get the points and the guys you expect them to get the points from, and the Pacers were still better. How'd you leave that game? How'd you feel about that game as a Knicks fan?
Yeah, well, the way I felt about it was it kinda spoke to the Pacers' depth due to compared to the Knicks' lack of depth. You know, I'm looking at, just the box score a little bit, and you can see the Pacers, although they played 11, they really went 9 deep in the game last night, and, you know, they got production out of almost all their guys, and of course, they had the fantastic game from Pascal Siakam, and we'll talk more about that. But outside of the nearly 40 points from Siakam, you had a lot of the other players contributing scoring by committee, but it didn't even need to be that much of a scoring by committee since you had that much from Siakam. And in regards to the Knicks, I just thought that, like you said, it just wasn't enough of that edge that they needed for game two. It wasn't enough of the offense. And the thing I'm looking at is the box score 114 points. That might be one of the lowest point totals you hold the Pacers to this season. But then your offense doesn't keep up, only scoring 109. I also wasn't really thrilled with the coaching from Tom Thibodeau, especially to start the fourth quarter. I mean, we start the fourth quarter tied, and you're putting campaign in to start the fourth quarter in a tied game in game two when you're already down 0-1 in the series. I didn't love that. There's been a
Where
lot of
was Cat? Where was Cat? That's the
see
big
that's the
question.
thing
Well, where
too.
did he
Cat
come?
Cat's been kind of a non-factor in a lot of long stretches of these games, which has been interesting. And he's
I mean,
actually
he
been,
got out like a half of the first quarter in game one. I mean,
yeah, yeah, there's been long
I don't get it.
stretches, yeah, where Tibbs has favored Mitchell Robinson, and for that's just been a defensive thing. I think that Karl Anthony Towns is a lot of times a liability on the defensive end, and you just Mitchell Robinson has really stepped up on that end with his quickness and overall lateral speed. He can guard almost the 1 through the 5 now, and so when you're going up against a very versatile, very moving the ball offense like the Pacers, Robinson has proved more crucial on the defensive end than Towns has on the offensive end.
I felt going into this series that the matchups would be hugely important because I wasn't sure how the Pacers matched up with the Knicks. I was trying to align the five guys the Knicks would likely start against the five guys the Pacers would start, and I thought, you can get through this guy will guard this guy guards this guy, but then you get to a point where you're like, well, I don't know if Miles Turner can handle Karl Anthony Towns because his ability to play inside and outside, and I don't know, Josh Hart, who do you put on him because he's a guy that can muscle you around the basket, but he could also step outside. He's, very versatile. And then Tyrese Halliburton, who does he guard? You don't have a DiVincenzo out there anymore, so you don't have the guy who's kind of more the pure shooter where Halliburton can be hidden against a guy. Um, and so I thought maybe the matchups favored the Knicks, but in looking back in retrospect here at the first two games, I feel like the Knicks have had the greater challenge of matching up against the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, and I think again that speaks to a little bit of that depth as far as getting farther down the lineup when you get to the bench. I mean, you just have nobody there to guard some of the better players on the Pacers who rotate out a lot more. So a lot of times, you're getting a lot of these fresh bench players or a lot of fresh players in general who have gotten decent rotation minutes but still are coming in a lot fresher legs going against some of these Knicks players who have played 40 some 35 minutes per game. So I just think it speaks to the depth, and I also just think that the Pacers offense has gotten the best of the Knicks in general. I mean, it's not just like for second passes, it's third passes that the Knicks are leaving unguarded, and a lot of credit goes to Rick Carlisle too. I think he's just identified key matchups, and he's good at identifying hot players as well. In addition to Tyrese Halliburton, who was dishing them out yesterday, finding Siakam a lot. So that's what I feel about it, pretty much.
Rick Carlisle has been the best coach in the NBA playoffs, and it's not even close. I've not been the biggest Carlisle fan. I mean, I'm
No,
not the guy that waves the Carlisle flag, but I have to admit what I'm seeing right now. And Carlisle looks like an NBA championship coach, and Thibodeau looks in like he's in over his head.
yeah,
Carlisle has done things that are kind of unconventional in these playoffs. Number one, you don't play 10 or 11 players. And he's trusted it early in games throughout the first half, through the third quarter, even getting into crunch time to play a very deep bench. And I know that's one of the strengths of the Pacers, but he's played it regardless of the score. Remember, the Pacers have had some pretty big deficits, trusting that the end result would play in the Pacers' favor because you would wear out the other team. And down the stretch, then he could put a fresh starting five back into the game to finish it off. And that would be better than what the other team could put out there because they'd be worn down by all of the bench play of the Indiana Pacers. And it's worked magnificently. The little adjustments that he's made along the way, those have worked. I mean, I think Carlisle's been just brilliant. And, maybe he's not a Hall of Fame regular season coach. Maybe that's why I haven't appreciated Rick Carlisle. But this is 2 years in a row where the Pacers, by common belief, have outproduced what was expected of them. And they outproduced what was expected of them in the in season tournament a year ago. And I mean, maybe he's one of those guys that when the stakes get bigger, he gets better because so far in this playoff run, Rick Carlisle has been a magician with the way he's handled this roster, substitutions, etc.
No question about it. And like you said, Tibbs has just been a little bit outmatched and just refuses to play deep into his bench. It kind of makes you wonder why the Knicks even have these players. Sometimes it's a little bit frustrating. And it's also frustrating because when they have played, we've seen little flashes out of them, and I would love to see personally some of those players get a little bit of runtime to get a little bit of rest for some of those starters who do tend to show some weary legs for the Knicks, especially late in games. A lot of shots coming up short, especially airball threes late in games to get the game back tied from Brunson, stuff
Well,
like that. So.
and of course, shots miss when you take 40-foot threes at the end of the game. We'll talk more about that. Let's talk about Pascal Siakam. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Huge game last night. He came ready to play, and that's one thing about the Pacers. It's not just that they've got a deep roster where they trust guys that are ninth, 10th, maybe even 11 deep on that roster. It's they've got 4 or 5 guys that on any given night could look like they're all NBA. I mean, Siakam, we've seen Turner, we've seen Nemhard, Neesmith in game one, but Siakam absolutely on fire, unstoppable last night in the Friday night win, the game two win, 39 points. What was your take on the performance by Siakam?
I mean, what can you say? I mean, he absolutely crushed it. He got the better of OG Anunoby, who has been one of the best defensive players in the league. I was hugely
Former
shocked that
teammate too, by the way. You might
exactly.
have had a little inside info on how to attack Ananobi or Ananobi,
I
whatever. But he
I'm
won that
I'm
matchup.
sure I'm sure
Yeah.
they've played a lot of one-on-one before. I'm sure they know a little bit about how each other defends. But yeah, and so he got the better of OG Anunoby, who, like I said, I was surprised he didn't make any of the NBA's all defensive teams. I thought he was one of the snubs on that list. But yeah, so like he said, he went off and it's just I feel like Pascal has been one of the unsung heroes of the Indiana Pacers for a long time. I mean, they got him in such a great deal that was team friendly for the Pacers, and he has just been absolutely nothing but a consistent scorer, 20 a night, 18 a night, any given night, and can always have a night where he goes off for 30, 35, just finds the basket, and when his shot is falling, it is just absolutely nasty. So that was one of those nights last night, and he treated the Garden. He treated the Garden to some theatrics.
I'm trying to figure out what the Pacers do. Do they just continue to allow Brunson to go off for 40 a
Yes.
game?
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, like I said, I mean, I can't discredit Brunson at all. 40 some in the first game, 30 some in the second game. He's averaging, 36, 37 points per game in the series so far, but it's just not been enough offensive production from the rest of the team.
I said before the series that I didn't think the Pacers had anyone that could stop Brunson, and I thought that the Pacers and Rick Carlisle had to stop a charade that Andrew Nemhard is a great defensive player.
The Brunson stopper.
He's not. He can't stop anything from
No,
Brunson.
no, no. We're not
Brunson
doing
just
that.
goes to town on him. I mean, whether it's the step back, whether it's the shimmy shake and drive to the basket. I mean, Nemhard doesn't stop anything. And it's like sometimes I think players just have, great spin doctors or great PR people build this reputation where you make it sound like they're the defensive stopper. And I've just never seen it from Nemhard. I mean, he had one game that he played this remarkable defense, and I can't remember, was it LeBron, was it Steph, was it? I mean, it was something
Somebody
a
big,
year
yeah.
ago. But Brunson just torched him a year ago. Do we not remember the series a year ago?
Oh,
They
I do.
had to switch and put Neesmith on Brunson because Nemhard could not get the key stops. And now we're seeing the Pacers kind of doing that a little bit, but I'm like, you know what? Brunson's gone off 2 games in a row, and he's had big nights, and the Pacers win both games. Maybe it's not, maybe you can't lose to the Knicks just simply because Brunson goes off. And even in game one, you had 2 players go off. Carl Anthony Towns had 35 points, and they still didn't have enough. With 43 and 35 between those two, didn't have enough to beat the Indiana Pacers. So I'm just trying to figure out: do you have to double him? Do you have to try to work up some type of special defense or scout where you're focused on stopping Brunson, or do you just say, we'll let him have his 40? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think they've kind of realized that the rest of the New York offense outside of Towns in Game One has yet to show up to the series. So until they see somebody else start to get hot, I think they're just going to let Brunson get his and then just kind of defend his passes. You know, watch out for him getting hot with assists if any of his teammates get cooking. But yeah, it just hasn't been enough outside of Brunson. So if it isn't broke, don't fix it. If someone else does start getting hot, I do believe in Carlisle to make defensive adjustments. So could be scary stuff for the Knicks coming up here. It could be a sweep if they're not careful.
One guy that I thought might have a spot in this series because of his versatility defensively was Jarris Walker, and we're not seeing Walker at all. I'm surprised because the Knicks have one of those teams where you've got an Anunoby, you've got a Josh Hart, you've got guys where I felt like, and even Brunson to an extent. I'm like, I wouldn't rule out Jarris Walker being matched up against Brunson. I thought there were enough people on that Knicks roster, enough players that would be guys that Jarris Walker might be able to guard or pick up some minutes defensively, that he would get out there. But Rick Carlisle hasn't gone the Jarris Walker route. And I'm thinking, okay, here's the biggest games the Pacers have played. You don't even need Jarris Walker, which means your first round draft pick from a couple of years ago, you've got to start talking about Walker being a bust. Because if you can't use him in this situation, when are you ever going to be able to use him? I mean,
Right.
right? I mean, you've had a chance for a couple of years to get him developed, to get him to a stage, and I kind of feel like, what point is it to have Walker on the roster if you can get anything for him in trade? But Jarris Walker not even playing in this series. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it just seems like if you're not going to use him, it's time to move on from him. I don't know if you would go all the way to describe him as a bust, but just an undervalued, underdeveloped draft pick there. So, yeah, I mean, and you're only losing value on him by not playing him in important moments like this. So, yeah, I think it's time for the Pacers to move on from Jarris Walker, see what else they can do to bolster their roster instead.
Okay, it would be very unfair to wait until the Pacers beat the Knicks in Game 3 to say to Adam, okay, Adam, now do you think the series is over?
Ah!
We're 2-0. The Knicks have to win 4 out of the next 5. I said going into Game 2, you win the first 2 on the road, and then you have the Knicks having to win 4 out of 5 when 3 of those 5 are going to be in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. No chance. At this point, I'm giving the Knicks about the same percentage chance that the Pacers had to come back from double digits down in the final minute and a half against the Knicks in Game 1. I give them like 0.2%. I think the series is over. I think that we have seen enough of these two teams that the Pacers are a better team. They're not going to drop 4 out of the next 5. I think the series is over. As a Knicks fan, what kind of hope are you holding on to?
I'm probably realistically looking at a Pacers in 5 or 6 game finish. Best case scenario, we pull out a road warrior move and win 1 out of 2, maybe in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and then come back to MSG, maybe win one there, and then the Pacers would probably close it out at home in Game 6 if that were the case. Or we're looking at maybe one win in Gainbridge and then the series finishing in 5 at MSG. But we'll see. That's about what I'm looking at right now.
I saw on one of those national shows where they talk and debate, and all I can say is getting a bunch of athletes, sometimes they're idiots. They really are. They don't have a clue, but they're supposed to be credible because they're an athlete. Okay. Um, but they asked the question, who has a better chance at coming back? The T Wolves or the Knicks. And the Knicks lost twice at home.
Right.
Many people would say that the OKC Minnesota series hasn't really even started yet.
Exactly. If you break out the old cliche, it's not a series until someone wins on the road.
Yeah. And so and yet they're sitting there saying Minnesota is the team that's totally done. They're totally cooked. The Knicks have a better chance to come back. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Just, I'm sure that if you looked at percentages, it's probably, I would say, somewhat overwhelming that Minnesota, for a team that's down 2-0, losing the first two on the road, that team comes back. And even if it's just force a game seven, because I'm sure the percentages overwhelmingly favor the team that won the first two games. But if you lose the first two games on the road, those teams are going to come back probably 5, 6 times better than the teams that lose their first two games at home. And so I thought that was just an asinine thing for someone to say, is that the Knicks have a better chance to come back now, needing to win 4 out of 5 with 3 of those games on the road in Indianapolis. And so far, I believe I believe Minnesota hasn't played well, and Oklahoma City's a good team. But I believe game two. In fact, I'll be honest. I don't think the Knicks played poorly in either game. I
No, I
mean,
mean, it wasn't that bad. No, no, not at
they
all.
led by 17 points in the fourth quarter of game one,
Yeah.
and they had to come back a couple of times late in the second half against the Pacers. But I don't feel like. I mean, I feel like the Knicks are playing at about a level that they played at against the Celtics, and for some reason against the Pacers, it's not working. And so I'll be honest. I feel like in my mind, this series is almost a shut door. And I think Minnesota still has a chance, but they've got to win the next two at home. I think the Knicks are done. Sorry, Adam. I think the Knicks are done.
No, that's okay. I have a thing in 5 or 6 in the series as well. But going back to your point, um, it's it's just interesting. People just love to make interesting points on the TV shows.
Did did, uh, did we, by the way, didn't we put a Ruth Chris bet on this series?
I don't think we did. I don't think that was ever in the budget.
Oh man, it was in the plans, and they snatched it away from us. Yeah, that was probably on the April 8th show.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
uh,
Anyway, game three, Racers and Pacers, the big race down in Indy.
that
By
would
the
be
way, I got to
huge.
ask you about the race because this is something we've talked about quite a bit over the 9.5 years we did the radio show. Well, I did the radio show, you did the show. How long did you do the show, by the way? I want to get this right. Two and a half
Oh
years?
yeah, we'll go
2 years?
with 2.5. I don't think we got to the full 3-year reunion, but 2.5. We'll go with that.
No, it seemed like 7 to me. It really did.
Yeah. Oh no.
But yeah, if I gave you a plaque, I'd probably give you a plaque for like 7 years.
I
But
appreciate it. I'll take
yeah,
the
I
credit.
don't know what that means, but I don't know if you take that as a compliment. Anyway,
Whatever, I'll take it.
all right. So I've never been to the race in person.
Me neither.
Lifelong Indiana resident. I've said for about 30 years, oh, it's on my bucket list. It's still on my bucket list. And I can't bring myself to go to the race. That's too many people for me to deal with. I
That's
would
my
love to
problem.
be there. If someone would send me in on a helicopter, it's too bad we don't have the Sports Rush chopper anymore.
Too bad.
Budget cuts, which were much greater than we ever imagined. But no, but seriously, the if you could fly me in, fly me out, I wouldn't have to deal with parking, traffic, or the crowd. I'd be fine. But honestly, just too many people for me. I'm not a big fan of those kind of crowds. Some people enjoy it, I don't,
Yeah.
and I've never really wanted to do. I've always wanted to go to the race, but I've never wanted to deal with the people, and so just too many of them, just too many.
Yeah,
And,
it's
and then you get to a point when you get older where you're like, I, what if my knees are hurting that day or if my back's hurting? It's going to be just a miserable day. And so I don't know. I've never gone. And people look at me like I'm from a different planet when I say, I've never attended the race. You've never attended the race?
What?
Yeah, what kind of an idiot are you? But
Uh,
you've not attended. Is it on a bucket list? Is it something that you ever want to go to, or do you feel like you could live your life without it? Like
I
me
feel
in
like
Star Wars.
Yeah, I feel like I can live my life without it. I mean, if I was invited, like with a group that already has a full plan to go and I can just like sit in a car and tag along and not do anything, then I would be happy to go. But like you said, those crowds just look absolutely crazy, absolutely mental, very overstimulating. And I hate driving through traffic too. So that
You know
just,
what we need to
yeah.
do? If
What do
this
we need
show
to do?
takes off, we get somewhere by next year. We need to have a sports rush bus trip.
Let's do it.
Get a bus. That's the only way you and I will be comfortable. For me, it will be transportation. Don't have to worry about traffic. I can just ignore the traffic. You can take me to the private suite that we'll have because we'll be so successful. We'll have our own private suite.
I love it.
And and then you can also just sleep in the bus and never have to worry about anything. Um,
Fantastic.
yeah, but that's what we need. We need a sports rush bus to get us down to the 500-mile race because I've never been. I would love to go, and it really is kind of a bucket list thing where I think if the situation was perfect, I would love to actually witness everything that happens during a 500 just to be there in person. But it's also, and I've told you this before, going to major sporting events. I don't go if I can't get a good seat and get one of the prime spots in the arena.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I don't want to be there just to be there. I want to be there to really get the full experience of what it's like to attend up close and personal an NBA game, a Major League Baseball game. And so I don't go to as many events as you probably think I do, just because if I can't get, the like if I go to a Pacers game, I want to be in the front 10, 12 rows. If I go to a Major League Baseball game, I want to sit in the lower level, sometime somewhere between third and first base. I, um, I just the experience isn't worth the headache, and it comes back to the traffic and the parking and the cost of concessions. If then when I go to my seat, I can barely even see what they're doing. And the experience would have been much better for me just sitting at home and watching it on TV and actually seeing what's going on. So that's just me. I feel the
Yeah.
same way about the race.
Same. I feel like you can just get a much better view on TV. Full speedways on camera. It's not just
Yeah.
one corner.
History was made this past week for the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark makes history yet again, and it's probably not a history that she was hoping to make, as she does not get a three-pointer in the game against Atlanta, a game the Fever won. Natasha Howard was absolutely huge. And then today she was almost no factor. But Caitlin Clark doesn't hit a three, first time in 140 games, going all the way back to her sophomore year at Iowa, since she had a game where she did not hit at least one three. And after today's loss to the New York Liberty, the Fever are 2-2. I know it was going to be a work in progress. We expected it to be on a little faster curve than it was last year because Caitlin Clark was a rookie. This year, she's back for her second year. The people that came in to play with her are all veterans, they're experienced. We expected it to maybe gel faster, and maybe we were unrealistic in that. But your thoughts on what you've seen for the Fever so far?
Yeah, I mean, you've gone up against some good competition, had some close losses, but I've liked what I've seen so far. I think that'll continue to gel as they do have those new additions to the team, and I'm sure they're going to start to produce a little bit more. Today's game was a little bit frustrating. With the end and just how it ended there for the Fever. I didn't think it was a foul there on Clark at the end, and like I agree with you that she shouldn't have tried to just sell a call there. But I didn't love the call on the other end that got the two free throws for UNESCO either on Hall.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that Stephanie White did not challenge that. I mean,
Mm,
what are you waiting for? You're waiting, there's 3 seconds left and you don't challenge it. The game is on the line. I mean, what are you waiting? You're waiting for a more significant call with 1 second left? I mean, it doesn't make any sense that she didn't challenge that call. Um, the points were much more important than the advancement of the basketball. To me, I'll go the full court in a tie game much more than I would be willing to play in the half court down by two on a final possession. And and I look at that replay and I'm like, there's a chance here. And if there's any kind of chance, realistic chance, I think you've got to challenge that call. I think she missed out. Um, and then Caitlin Clark, again, you cannot expect to get the whistle because you're the star, because the WNBA is trying to disacknowledge her as a star.
yeah,
She's not going to get the star treatment because you don't want to show favoritism. Her whole league will be in outrage that they're favoring the white girl. It's she really is kind of targeted in a lot of ways, but I blame her on this, not the league, in the fact that I don't even know if there was a foul. I think she tried to sell one.
hmm,
And you can't try to hope that you get a whistle to end a game. You got to go get a shot. You had 2.9 seconds. That's plenty of time to attack the basket and maybe a pull up, maybe a teardrop, whatever you've got to do. Even if you drive and have to dish, you can do it pretty quickly if with 2.9 seconds. Now you can't drive around and then pass, but I said the other day that I had a problem with the Fever running a final play and not getting it into the hands of Caitlin Clark. This time they did, and she didn't do much with it. And so maybe I was wrong. Maybe CC's not the person to have the final possession because she's not somebody that is extraordinary at beating her player one on one. But you can't trust that you're going to get an official's whistle. You don't have that stature in the WNBA.
yeah, and I'm sure she probably saw UNESCO get the call on the other end on some light contact, and then she probably thought in her mind, if I get any light contact, I'll get the same thing. But you can't, like you said, you can't rely on that. And they just overall got to work on their late game situations. And Stephanie White has to figure out when she needs to challenge a call. So hopefully it's things that'll get ironed out. 4 games in, things can only go up from here.
I
Hopefully.
I don't know if that was light contact on UNESCO. I'm going to go back to what you just
Okay.
said.
Okay.
I think there was serious contact,
But it was initiated.
but it was initiated by UNESCO. When she drove, she took an angle into Cunningham and made sure that there was contact in that play. And I think that's what would have had to have been reviewed, that verticality rule where
Mhm.
if you establish the plane, you have the vertical right to that spot. And if the offensive player comes into your verticality, that's not a foul on the defensive player. And that I think there was a good chance that call might have been overturned watching the replay right after it happened. And I
Yeah.
think Stephanie White missed a super opportunity to get that reviewed and at least take the shot at maybe saving those two free throws. But sometimes too you calculate, well, what would the result be? Would they have called an offensive foul if they determined that
Right.
the contact wasn't defensive? Because I don't know, maybe it would have been the Liberty's ball. I don't know how they would have resolved it. I'm like, you can't give her free throws here, but would you have given the Liberty the ball out of bounds with 2.9 seconds? Maybe that's why Stephanie White didn't challenge it. But I'm thinking if there's obvious contact that's initiated by the offensive player, then maybe when you're challenging it, it's not about saving the defensive foul. It's about trying to get an offensive foul called. But I thought she should have challenged it, and I didn't think it was a great possession by Clark. I don't think it was a good decision by Clark. I think what Caitlin Clark was expecting is they were going to intentionally foul her,
Hmm.
but it's not a 3-point game. I think she thought they were going to foul her to take away the three, but they couldn't afford to intentionally foul her because it was a 2-point game. You couldn't take that chance. And I don't know if they had a foul to give. If they had a foul to give, then it wouldn't have been a bad play. But she acted with what she did there like she fully expected they were going to reach in and do the grab, and she was going to catch them in it and go up like she's trying to shoot a 3-pointer. That's
Hmm.
what it looked like to me. And again, I don't know the foul situation. I wasn't even listening to the broadcast. I was watching the game and wasn't even listening. So I don't know if they had a foul to give. But Beaver lose. They're now 2-2. All's not doom and gloom. This is still a good team. And I think the fact that they played with the Liberty pretty much throughout the entire game proves that they are a contender. They are not a pretender. And the hopes that we had going into this season that the Fever were going to elevate to a point of being a true championship contender are validated. They're justified.
Yeah, and I mean, they're like you said, they're playing some of the better competition in the league too. I mean, a head-to-head against home and away against the Dream, that's always tough. And then the Liberty, who are the best, one of the best teams in the league. It was nice to see them blow out the Sky, though. That was fun.
Yeah. The oh my goodness, Angel Reese.
Ooh, do we even go there in her?
Yes, we have to go there, Adam. I'm not letting it go.
You're not above being petty.
They're watching because of me too.
They're
It's like what
watching you
you
go 0 for
like
7 or
what you've
whatever.
said for the last 3 years. They listen because of me too. No, I'm kidding you. She comes out and she acts like she is this big draw. Well, in case anybody wants to watch to create a blooper reel, they're not watching because of Angel Reese. She is not a basketball talent. Okay, she is a great rebounder. She's athletic. She is not a great basketball player. Somebody has to say it. I mean, she was 0 for 8 against the Liberty from the field. 0 for 8. And where does she shoot from? The rim.
Yeah,
And
within 3
of
feet.
course she has 12 rebounds. And guess how many offensive rebounds she had? She was 0 for 8 for the field. She had 8 offensive rebounds. I just
Mm.
wish they would list in the box score with an asterisk how many of those rebounds your own missed shots, because that's where she racks up a bunch of offensive rebounds. I saw one possession where she got 3 of them because they were showing it on the on social media. But there
Yeah.
nobody is watching the WNBA because they're enthralled with the game and the play of Angel Reese. Come on.
Unless you really like offensive rebounds of missed shots. She is actually 22.7% from the field through 2 games. So if you really like a lot,
22%. Think about it, Adam. Think about it. She shoots 2-footers.
yeah,
That's the layup drill. She's 22% on the layup drill. Actually, she has shot like 5 or 6 threes, but still, it's
yeah.
bad.
No, it's really bad. She's 1 of 2 from 3-point range on the season so far. So 50% from three. Give her credit, Brett.
Oh, well, that means a lot more of her shots are layups. And yeah. All right, hey,
Let's
we've got to
see.
talk about the big news here in Indiana this week. The Jim
Yeah,
Irsay, the longtime owner, the family that's owned the Indianapolis Colts for many, many years, for decades. Jim Irsay passes away at 65 years old. We all know the stories of a rough life with battling the addictions of drugs and alcohol. We know that, okay, and it's not like we're pointing the finger at Jim Irsay, but certainly I think it contributed to an early death. It certainly can't help, and it's just a sad situation because it's somebody who had such a giving heart, gave to so many organizations and individuals, was just a really caring person. And one thing he had more passion about than anything was trying to deliver a championship to the Indianapolis Colts fans. He loved the Colts. He loved the fans even more. And I think he wanted it for himself, but he probably wanted a championship even more for Colts fans. And the sad thing is kind of like Pete Rose when he passed away. The great things will happen after he's gone and can't be here to enjoy them. And I said that all along that if there's ever going to be a day that Pete Rose ends up in the Hall of Fame, the only way baseball should do it is make sure it happens before he passes away. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. And now you have Jim Irsay. If the Colts win another championship, how soon it will be. I don't know if they're in a position to win a championship because they're still in a terrible quandary with their quarterback situation. They don't have an answer. They have two options, but they don't really have an answer. But Jim Irsay passing away, big loss for the Colts, big loss for the state. I don't think people realize how many organizations were aided and funded and assisted by the generosity of Jim Irsay.
Yeah, and just an overall cool guy who cared a lot about his team and cared a lot about the NFL and cared a lot about the city of Indianapolis and the state of Indiana. It was always nice to see him shouting out, local high school football coaches every, couple days after one of the teams in our state had a fantastic Friday night. That was always something he was really passionate about, was honoring local coaches, and he just cared about football in the state of Indiana a lot in general. So yeah, definitely a sad loss, and hopefully the Irsay daughters can carry on the legacy with the organization for the Colts.
Yeah, his daughter Carly is going to take over the operations and running of the day to day business of the Indianapolis Colts. I'll be honest, behind the scenes, I think she's been doing that for the last year or so.
Hmm.
Uh, we know privately that Jim was dealing with some health issues over the last year and a half that were getting pretty serious. So I think she's prepared for that transition. I don't know if it means anything uh, as far as the future of the Colts in Indianapolis. I don't think so. I hope not,
Right.
but certainly a big loss. Jim Irsay dead at 65. Now, the other guy didn't die, but he's retired. And what a career for someone you have to consider a local icon, a local legend here in Fort Wayne. Came into the Summit City to start a college football team. Now, this guy already had a successful coaching career, but he was really enticed by the challenge of building a program from scratch. And he came to the University of St. Francis, the only coach they have ever known as the head coach of the St. Francis Cougars. Kevin Donnelly has retired, and he's got national championships. He consistently has competed for conference championships. It took him really one full year before he elevated the program to being a consistent, high quality team, whether that meant conference championships or national tournament qualifying, or even runs to the national championship game and national titles. It didn't take him long to build a winning program. He we had him on the show quite often. For many years, it was every Wednesday we would have a chance to visit with him, and then their practice schedule kind of switched up, and we had trouble coordinating a time. But the one thing is, I think that what was as important to him as football was the growth of his players as good quality people. And, wrote a book kind of about that. And I tell you, he did it the right way. He did it for a long time. He's the fifth winningest coach in college football history. And we should be proud here in Fort Wayne to have had somebody with this type of legendary status in a game as prestigious as college football. And Kevin Donnelly, Coach D, we wish you nothing but the best in your retirement.
Absolutely nothing but success in retirement to a football coach who had countless success in his career. And just like you said, brought an entire football program to one of our local universities, has a fantastic coaching record. And like you said, cares a lot about Fort Wayne and about building, solid young men out of his football players. So all the best to Coach Donley.
All right, finally, we've got to talk about the story that broke yesterday. And you talk about something that not only broke, but no one saw coming. Purdue Fort Wayne announces budget cuts one day after the university announced $6 million was going to be cut from the budget. The athletic department announces the end of baseball and softball at Purdue Fort Wayne. I mean, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's like getting a call that that a near and dear relative has passed away. I mean, to me, it is sad. So many people that put their heart and soul into these programs, and the timing of it with baseball just getting the national stage and spotlight with Justin Osterhaus and what he did with the 4 home runs and the walk-off grand slam and getting the win on the mound. And I mean, all of the accolades that he received, the attention the baseball program received, and then the great run by softball going to the championship of the Horizon League tournament, beating the number one seed Cleveland State twice at Cleveland State. And unfortunately, both programs, as of yesterday, are no more. And literally, those programs pretty much found out about it about the same time that the email went out to notify boosters, faculty, and everybody else that that those two programs are being cut. Just a very sad day, and kind of disappointing in the way it happened because you don't even have the players on campus, so they have to find out while they're at home making plans to come back for the summer, and now they're all entering the portal. It's a rough day for Purdue Fort Wayne, and I hate that it's baseball and softball because I'm a former college baseball player. So I just hate to see this all together.
Super sad stuff. And like you said, it's just they had these recent successes with the softball getting to the Horizon League Championship, and then just some individual successes that were highlighted all across the country for the baseball team and Justin Osterhaus. So anytime you see local sports, it's just tough to see. I mean, we're a sports city, and anytime we lose one of our sports, it's just really heartbreaking. We've gone through it before, and now we're going through it again. So I understand that the university has to do what it has to do to, be financially responsible and to survive as a place of higher learning. But you really do feel for the coaches and you feel for the kids that are affected by this. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, want to end on this because we've got to talk about this at some point here soon on one of these editions. We've got to talk about the future of girls basketball in this town because I don't know if you're following social media, but a lot of the youngest talent that we have around the Fort Wayne area, those that are freshmen, sophomores, um, they are right now getting offers, being recruited by some of the bigger, larger programs in the entire country. We have got a very bright future and a lot to look forward to with girls basketball in this area. And we'll have to talk more about that. So, what else you got planned for the weekend, Adam?
I'm gonna go ride some roller coasters on Monday. We're headed to Kings
Woo!
Island. That'll be fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Now you
Other
go
than
to,
that,
I thought you go to Cedar Point usually.
well, we already have gone to Cedar Point. Got there a couple days after they opened for the season. So now we're gonna hit up Kings Island.
Uh, yeah, I think your mom's taking you, right?
Oh yeah, all expenses paid trip to.
Does mom watch this? Because I got a message for your mom.
I don't think she does, but I can send her a clip if you want to. If you want
Yeah,
to.
we might need to add a clip. Mom, I really would like to go on some of these trips. Adam won't invite me.
I don't get invited either.
Adam, Adam will not ask me to go. But mom, going to Cedar Point again, and need somebody to pick up a seat on the roller coaster, I would be willing to suffer through it. Now, I do require a fast pass,
Yeah. Hey, we're getting those. Don't you worry about that.
but yeah, I want your mom to know that I'm available.
Yeah, I told you they're actually over in the Las Vegas, Hoover Dam, Grand Canyon area right now, and then they're shooting back tomorrow, and then we're going to Kings Island Sunday. But before that, we got some
Wow.
tin caps too.
Wow.
Woo!
Tin Caps baseball tonight. What a doubleheader win yesterday for the Tin
Good
Caps.
stuff.
A lot of drama at the ballpark last night. Beautiful weather. Love that. A lot of sunshine. A little bit cool, but hey, throw on a hoodie and you'll be fine.
Take it over the
Uh,
rain. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. We didn't even see the sun for like 10 straight days, it seemed. All
Yeah.
right. So we'll catch you again another Saturday down the road. Appreciate you, Adam. Appreciate everybody that
Oh yeah.
tunes in. Have a great weekend. All right. Got to kind of wrap things up here.
Yes, sir. See
And
ya.
all right. We'll
It, it's just me. It's my show now, Brett.
end the show. I'm
All right.
back. Yeah.
I'll leave for you. I'll see you later, Brett.
Okay, you just go ahead, take off up for me. Because I don't know how to do it. I hit the button. I hit the button to put myself on the full screen and ended up being all Adam and I vacated. So, okay, so now Adam is nothing but a gray box. There we go. All right, wrapping up the show for this week. Once again, remember, be sure to subscribe, be sure to like, share, do all the great things for this channel to help the channel grow. Be sure you watch our shorts. We clip some of the best moments of our videos into shorts. You can go to the tab and watch our shorts and watch other videos as well. But we'll try to be here each and every Saturday for you. So for Adam Lundy, I am Brett Rum. Thanks again for being a part of this Saturday Sports Rush. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. We'll talk.